So welcome to the Psychology of Family Violence course, or Psych 348. This is a blended course, so it's going to be a little bit different than courses that you may have previously taken during a regular semester and also courses that you've taken in the summer or in winter session. So what that means is that sometimes we're going to meet in person during the week on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and on Tuesdays and Thursdays we're going to have online activities. And we'll talk about what that means a little bit more in just a few minutes. So this course is going to meet on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. in the Education Building. And then you're going to be going on Moodle on Tuesdays and Thursdays for the online activities and lessons. So my name is Jessica Peedy, and I am going to be your instructor for this course. I am a current graduate student in the psychology department in the clinical psychology PhD program. I really am excited to teach this course. This is one of my favorite areas of psychology, and it's also my research area of interest and my clinical interest for psychology. So just some information about me in case you need to get in contact with me. My email address is listed in the PowerPoint. It's jessica.peedy@umontana.edu, and it's also listed in your syllabus. So I would highly encourage you, if you have any issues throughout the course, or if you just have a question about something that we're talking about and you'd like some more information, feel free to email me and get in contact with me at any point throughout the 3 weeks that we're working together. And you can also contact me directly on Moodle as well. If you'd like to set up an appointment to meet with me in person, you're welcome to contact me by email and set that appointment up. I don't have specific hours office listed, but I do my office hours by appointment only. If you do set up a meeting to meet with me, my office is located in the Clinical Psychology Center in room 106. If you're not familiar with where that is, please let me know and I'm happy to give you directions. So a little bit more about me. I'm actually from Ohio, and even though I live in Ohio, I have a strong affinity for the University of Michigan, which, if you're from Ohio, is a pretty big deal. Ohio State and the University of Michigan have a pretty big rivalry between each other. So if you're from Ohio and you root for the University of Michigan, you're sort of seen as a traitor to Ohio. However, I do have an excuse for liking Michigan and for rooting for the university. I actually worked at the University of Michigan before coming here to the University of Montana. Other things that are interesting about me, you'll see up on the screen that I have a dog. His name is Nickel, and he is a Yorkie. I absolutely love him, and I shamelessly will probably put photos of him in our lectures, and I'll talk about him in class. So that's just a fun fact about me. Also, you'll see up on the screen that I like to include humor in my PowerPoints. So frequently I'll use memes in our discussions just to kind of lighten up the topics of what we discuss in this class. This class is going to be talking about really sensitive topics that are going to feel pretty heavy at times. So it's going to be really important for us to use humor throughout our lectures so that we can try and lighten things up when things feel heavy. Now, I've shared a little bit about myself, and I would definitely like to get to know all of you a little bit more as well. So as a part of our first sort of activity for today, I'm going to be asking you to post some information about yourself in the discussion forum on Moodle. So please feel free to look at the instructions for that on Moodle so that I can get to know each and every one of you a little bit more personally as well. So for this course, you're going to be required to get the textbook called Family Violence Across the Lifespan. This is in its 3rd edition. I believe the latest edition came out in 2010. This is not one of these courses that you cannot buy the textbook for and still get away with doing well in the class. It's really important for this class that you purchase the textbook and that you keep up with the readings, particularly because we have such a short time frame to learn all of the course material. It's not a semester-long class where you can sort of take your time and go through the readings. You really have to stay on top of the readings for this 3-week course. So I would highly encourage you to get a copy of the textbook, and if you have any problems with that, please let me know, and I'll do my best to help you out in getting a copy. So let's talk about what this class is about. What are we going to be learning in this course? This course is really designed to talk about issues related to the psychology of family violence. So our goal in teaching you different things in this course is really to explore the field of family violence research in psychology and also family violence clinical work. So we're going to be talking quite a bit about different theories and research that explain why family violence occurs in the United States. And we're also going to be talking quite a bit about interventions that are used in real-world clinical settings for individuals that have experienced family violence in the United States. This course also comes with a disclaimer. So what I mean by that is that it's going to be really important, due to the sensitive nature of the topics that we're going to discuss in this course, that if you're ever feeling uncomfortable or like some of the material is triggering something for you that you've personally experienced, to please let me know and talk to me about it after class. You are the best person to identify whether or not something is upsetting you. And so if you're ever feeling like the material is upsetting you in some way, you have to decide whether or not you can continue on with taking the course. I certainly understand that this material can be triggering at times, and so if that is coming up for you, just please talk to me and we'll try to figure something out. Additionally, this course is not designed to replace therapeutic work. So what that means is that if this course is triggering you and you're feeling like you can't continue, we might want to talk about potentially referring you to a therapist outside of this course. That also means that personal experiences with some of the topics that we discuss in this class really shouldn't be brought up in the course of our discussions. It may be tempting at times to talk about personal experiences because this topic happens to touch so many different areas of people's lives. However, it's just not the appropriate place to talk about it in class. So please do your best to refrain from bringing up personal information in class if it relates to the different topics that we talk about. So what is a typical day going to look like in this course? Well, on our in-class days, we're probably going to start off class by having some announcements and just checking in with any sorts of issues that need to be discussed. After we check in and do announcements, we'll jump into some lecture material. So usually on in-class days, we're probably going to have an hour to an hour and a half of lecture material that we'll talk about. Now, because it's a 3-hour class on in-person days, certainly you're probably going to need a break, and I'm going to need a break about halfway through that. So we'll probably take a break after we lecture for a little while, for about 10 or 15 minutes. And then ideally, the second half of class will hopefully be used for activities. So it's going to be used for in-class discussions, journal activities, or watching short clips that are going to relate to the topic that we discuss for that day. So I'm going to try to do my best to make the class as interactive as possible and try to keep it as interesting as possible for you, because I realize it's a pretty long class to sit through. And before we end our class on in-person days, we're going to talk about the homework and quizzes that are going to correspond to each of the chapter topics that we discuss. On an online day, what you can typically expect is that announcements and other sort of related items are going to be posted on Moodle directly, or I'm going to email the entire class. On an online day, a lot of the work is going to be really up to you to complete and to do at your own pace. I don't really care what time you're doing the work on online days, as long as you're completing it by the end of the day. And I do have some specific guidelines for what I mean by the end of the day, and you can find those in your syllabus. So typically on an online day, you're going to have some assigned reading that you need to complete from the textbook. There will also be video lectures that are going to be posted on Moodle and some PowerPoint slides for you to review. On online days, we are not going to have the flexibility to do in-class or in-person discussions, so our discussions are going to be on online forums. And we'll talk about the specific requirements for what I mean by online forums in just a few minutes. But you can expect that on online days, we are going to be using those forums to replace our in-class discussions. Also, you're going to have a journal activity and a quiz for online days, so you can expect to complete those on Moodle as well. And again, I'll try to remind you of any homework that will be due before we meet in person the next day. If you guys have any questions about any of that, feel free to contact me or post a question in the questions forum.